All right, John Deere X720 basket case part 2. I got the motor mounted this morning and all the electrical connections hooked up appropriately. The fuel lines connected, coolant lines, that kind of stuff. I put oil in it, coolant, put the gas tank back on it, made those wiring connections there, hooked the 2 fuel hoses up, the supply and the return. Got my jump pack, hooked it up to the battery cables, started priming the fuel system. It took a minute to get fuel up through, the pump and all in there, and the air bubbles and whatnot all worked out of it and everything else. But it finally popped and fired up and started running. Beautiful motor, runs great. I can't say enough about it. The old motor, there is not a shadow of a doubt that that thing was burning oil and using oil like crazy. The muffler had so much old oil in it. It's not even funny. You can see, I put a pig mat down because it's still dripping it out of there, but all of that there's old oil, and I had to actually open up my back door in my garage and get a cross breeze going because it was so smoky in here from the oil being burnt out of that muffler. And you could tell that there was all oil on this too. I'm not sure what was going on with that old motor, but whatever it wasn't going to be good for long term. So glad to have a new motor in it and have it breathe new life. So let's talk about a couple other things real quick here. The new motor, when I mounted it and when I first initially tried to start it, I could tell that it was struggling to turn over. So I was like, all right, so start investigating that. And you could hear something like almost hitting something. So I immediately went to the fan. I didn't think about it initially, but these fan brackets here on these, I think it's the 620Ds as well, like in the 425s and all that. But there's 3 different mounting height options here. So the Deeres have the highest mounting point option out of these 3 here. So needed my old belt because it's longer than the one that was on here that was in the medium height, I guess, range, and it had, the belt on it or whatever. I'm sitting here trying to rack my brain on what in the heck was going on with this thing and why it was hitting and everything. And I'm like, all right, do I have the motor mounts on wrong? I'm like, nope, those are on correct. And so I'm sitting here thinking, all right, well, is the frame bent here, on the tractor? I'm like, no, the frame's it's straight. So started playing with it and looking at it. So I put a pry bar in right here and I'm picking it up. I mean, it had to go up ½ inch at most. So I'm like, all right, something's not connected right here. Something's just not right. Got to looking at the old bracket here and where the screw mounts were, and I'm like, oh, well, that's an easy fix. Well, it's easier said than done because I already had the lower coolant hose in and I got coolant in it and everything, so I'm like, I don't want to drop the coolant in it. I mean, I could, but I don't want to go through the hassle. So I have coolant in it now, and I don't want to go backwards now. Now we have, major forward progress here. So ended up unbolting the motor and kind of twisting it or spinning it in the frame here a little bit, enough where I can get my hands in here. The 4 10mm bolts, unbolt the fan, push that inside the radiator fan housing here, whatever, and then was able to get the pulley and belt off there. That just, once the fan's off, then that you can slide that off. Take that assembly out, 4 bolts, raise it up 1 click, put the new belt on. I put the new pulley back on, a new fan, obviously, because I want everything to look new. I mean, it's a new motor. Why am I gonna put all the old junk on it? So got all that done, rebolted it down, and you know, we got clearance now, so, and you know, nothing's bent or anything else, which is a huge plus. What else do we have to talk about here? The front PTO shaft, or the shaft that comes out the front here, is definitely way too long. This bracket here is for the back of the fan, or the back of the battery, and you can see there, this, I gotta cut. I'm probably gonna end up taking the muffler back off to get my grinder on there or whatever, and just zip that stub shaft off there so I can get this battery box in here, and then I can mount the battery and everything else. So I gotta buy a battery yet, but I don't have the charge pump shaft connected to the motor or the rear PTO or the rear transaxle. My next plan is I'm going to fire it back up here in a little bit and try and finish burning the rest of that oil out of that exhaust. I'm going to push it outside, flip it around, bring it back inside over here, and then I'm going to take the rear end out of it and I guess in life, as you age, you're supposed to get wiser. Well, I mean, that's what I've always been told. So, but the past, I think, 2 times that I've tried to flip tractors, there's always seemed to be a rear end leak in them. And that's after I change all the hydraulic fluid in it and put a dye kit in it and find a huge puddle on the ground. And then I've just spent $75 on hydraulic oil that I got all over the ground. And then I got to dump it in my waste oil pan, and, you know, so I'm out $75 plus the time and, you know, whatever stuff I got to do for seals and everything else for a transaxle. So I'm going to be money ahead. I'm going to drop the transaxle out of it. They're not hard to do. I've done them before. 4 bolts for the axle, 2 on each side, 2 hydraulic hoses, and then I believe it's 2 or there's you got linkage on this side for your forward reverse, and I think it's 1 linkage on the other side for your parking brake. Once that's done, you can pretty much drag the transaxle out. I am going to undo this bracket here so I can basically just slide it out backwards. Once that's done, pull the axles off of it, pull the side plates off of it, re-gasket everything. It's just black silicone RTV sealant or whatever. Put the new panels on, put new O-rings in it and everything, and go from there. So that stuff's pretty cheap. It's cheap insurance just to do it now, and for a tractor that's just going to go down the road, I obviously want to make it right for whoever's going to buy it. So yeah, that's where we are at with this project so far today, though. Super happy to have it up and running. And yeah, hopefully going to be dropping the plastics and everything off to the body shop here. It's either going to be just before Easter or just after. We're just following Easter. I'm not 100% sure when I'm going to do it yet, but it'll be coming up here pretty quick. I got a short little vacation over Easter with the family, and then a pretty major vacation about mid-May. So trying to keep the things moving along here pretty quick. But basically once the rear end's out and flipped around and re-gasketed and all that, O-ringed, put that back in, and then I'm going to work on the 62 deck that I have sitting over there. Basically just kind of tear it apart, feel out the bearings and everything, make sure everything's good to go, because when I first got the jump pack hooked up to everything here and things kind of fired up and everything, I was actually kind of shocked at the hours. It's really no wonder that the motor was, I guess, using oil, but at the same time, I'm not really sure, you know, kind of what happened with all that. Obviously, the rings went bad in it, but, you know, and I don't know if that's the original motor in it or not. But anyway, the tractor itself has, try and get you guys in a good shot here so you'll be able to read that legibly. 2,593.2 hours on it. So I was pretty taken back by that when I first flipped the key on, once I had power hooked up to everything, and I was a little bit in shock, honestly. But overall, really, the tractor was in pretty good shape for 2,500 hours on it. Obviously used in some type of a commercial application, or for a church, or somebody used it commercially to put those kind of hours on it, especially for the year. I'm not 100% sure the year offhand. It has a serial tag starting in 05, so it has to be probably an earlier year model. I think these went from 2010 until, I don't even remember now off the top of my head. But anyway, I'm thinking it's an earlier model X720. So, but nonetheless, it's got a new motor in it, and it'll have a new resealed transaxle in it, so there'll be 0 leaks in that. Like I said, I'm going to go through the deck, make sure the bearings are all good in those, in the pulleys or in the spindles and everything, and put new blades on that, and should be ready to go for summer. So yeah, like I said, super happy, super excited to have the motor in it. It runs great. I'll fire it up here real quick for you guys and let you guys get going. Right now, I think it cooled down enough, but all the gauges work. Fuel gauge works, temp gauge works, thermostat was good. It went to about, I don't know, quarter way down, and see the thermostat kicking in, so I know all that stuff's good to go. Super happy to know that the fuel pump and all that works in it and everything too. So, but anyways, guys, now I'm rambling a little bit, so I'll let you guys get going. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.